Hey there, welcome to the Reinsurance Podcast, the place where we dive into all things reinsurance, the coolest part of insurance. We're your hosts, Jared and Ben, a couple of ex-practitioners who loved the industry so much we founded Supercede to tackle some of its biggest headaches. And we're here to share our insights and stories with expert guests as we uncover what's really going on in the industry.
Well, welcome back to the Reinsurance Podcast here in Monte Carlo. Delighted to have Paul Campbell here with me, who taught me everything I know. He's here from Aon. How are you, Paul? How's your Monte Carlo going?
Great, Ben. Yeah, having a really good time. It's I think it's really interesting Monte this year with the market changing. There's quite a lot of flux going on. So yeah, really interesting.
No, good stuff. And we'll dive a bit into all the different themes that you're hearing talked about as you go from 30-minute meeting to 30-minute meeting with all the markets. Great and good. But Any major things that stand out this year that are maybe different to the years that have gone before, would you say?
I think, definitely hearing a lot more talk about growth and how to do that as the market's turning. Yeah. So, the sense I've got is that the reinsurers, they've had a few good years and they've enjoyed it and they want to keep it going. They're aware of market conditions, but they want to keep that going. So I think there's been some great conversations about really getting into the depth, the nitty gritty of how do you do that when pricing is changing, right? And the conditions are changing, and we're going to have to be much more flexible and relevant to clients.
And I guess the nature of the growth must change from a hard market to a softening one, in the sense that it's not growth at all costs anymore, where you can afford to just plough on. Probably the famous phrase of profitable growth comes to mind.
Indeed. As somebody who likes to proselytise about the value of data and analytics, as you know from our time working together, now is absolutely that kind of time. I wouldn't want to mischaracterise the hard market and say, you can almost write anything and make money, but absolutely now rigor. Really understanding what's going on, class by class, segment by segment, etc. I think is just so much more important.
Yeah. And are you seeing many of those growth opportunities talked about here today? Is there demand for particular segments or particular regions or perils, or what's the hot topics, I guess, out there?
Do you know what? I honestly, it's hard to spot patterns. I'm hearing quite a lot of variety, which is really based on, I think, different experiences that the carriers have had through the hard part of the market. So, you hear some effectively saying we're looking to diversify out of property and out of cat. Doesn't mean they're shrinking in it, but they're looking for diversification opportunities when they think growth. Others saying actually we want to increase the weighting there. So despite some pricing challenges, people are looking at those traditional parts of the market.
Yeah, it's interesting. When you said that, actually, the Markel Nationwide news came to mind. For example, somebody wants out, somebody wants in. It does seem quite whoever's what suits them, I suppose.
Yeah, trading positions, and then we're hearing a lot about capital waiting on the sidelines, and you could talk about an area like U.S. casualty, for example, which has its strengths, has its challenges, but there's definite appetite out there to do it in its own right and generate underwriting profit in that class in its own right, and to do it to just be more relevant to clients and cedents and be able to offer them more across their needs.
Absolutely, and I guess you're something of an expert on unpacking what profitable growth looks like. I've been following, I'll confess, your series that you've been publishing with the team as well, and there's been lots of contributors, but am I right in saying it was the 7 traits of insurers that win, or something to that effect?
Exactly. So we did some analysis, actually, and this came out of some work we were doing with clients, and we looked at 120 carriers over a 20-year period, because we really wanted to see how performance varies, and could we spot any patterns for carriers who managed to outperform over that kind of period, that length of time. Obviously some have come in, but during the period, but we've tracked that. And what we found was you can definitely see some trends in terms of where people are generating growth and profit and return on equity over time. Yep. And there's a little bit of a leaning towards specialty lines as a direct carrier and to reinsurance. That was really interesting. But what we wanted to do was unpack that, and actually really understand how are they doing it across the enterprise. And with the 7 traits, we can talk about them, absolutely. We talk about speed and agility, and so being able to respond to market trends. Definite sense that top performers are quick to move
Absolutely.
and develop product for clients. We talk about really being quite forensic about risk appetite and clarity, just having real clarity on that. Where do you want to play? It kind of goes back to what we were saying about how carriers have had different experiences, but making real strategic choices.
Not just ending up with stuff and
Opportunity.
Yeah.
And actually, some of the performers who have maybe not done so well over the cycle, you probably can see more of those opportunistic kind of characteristics where they're going with the market, they're trading in the market, having a very, very clear strategy about what you want to write, who you want to do it with, absolutely hugely important. Bit of innovation around underwriting as something that I'm sure is very close to your heart.
Indeed.
But, being very thoughtful again about how to respond to market trends like broker facilities, like MGAs, thinking about automated underwriting, augmented underwriting. I think the carriers that respond quickly are, and then I won't go through all 7 of them, but one that's really important and linked to that is then the type of talent that they're bringing in.
Oh, totally.
Again, not just traditional talent, not just trading underwriters within the market, but thinking about data scientists, thinking about data engineers, thinking about people with transformation experience, because they're changing their company, they're changing the way that they do underwriting. So they need different people to drive that forward.
And it makes total sense. And I guess you've got that set of 7 that's learned from 20 years previously. And I suppose at different times, different ones of those 7 come into focus depending on what else is going on in the world. I can only imagine that speed and agility is important in a world that feels like it's moving very fast. But
definitely,
what else is coming into focus given macro themes around the market?
Yeah, great. That's a really great question. I think the understanding of client needs and challenges, I think, is really coming to the fore. And I think the industry's brilliant at client relationship management. That's what we see here, right? That's what we're all doing as we go from meeting to meeting. But I think seeing the carriers, reinsurers, you could see as being remote from an end consumer, right? At the end of the day, and with social inflation and geopolitics, the impact that is having on end consumers and how insurance responds to those needs. I've talked to carriers here who are talking to reinsurers who are living that experience every day, and they're looking for reinsurers who understand them, understand the interfaces they have to have with their customers, with governments who are seeking to protect their populations, and they're looking for reinsurers who understand that and get it at a deep level, and are then willing to be flexible in their approach for how they develop solutions alongside the client, so that you've got that the win for the carrier, the cedant, and the win for the reinsurer.
Absolutely. And I guess we'd be remiss not to touch on some of the other big trends and how the 7 should respond to things like take in the order you choose, climate change and AI maybe, and technology, and how all that's racing forwards.
Absolutely. And when we talk about data and analytics and that kind of forensic approach to driving strategic choices and then executing on those, that's where we see new technology, AI, absolutely coming to the fore and being so important. Again, the reinsurers' customers have some great use cases for AI in terms of bespoke insurance solutions for clients and how they pay claims, and essentially we see claims payment becoming much more of an automated process. You get to the point where really every claim gets paid, and you use AI to figure out where there's issues, where there's fraud, etc. And so I think again for the reinsurers, it's interesting for them to think about how they interface with those applications for the clients. When it comes to climate change, massive impact, obviously, right? It's just fundamental to what's driving the cycle, and maybe we start to see that I wouldn't want to predict anything, I couldn't prognosticate, but you and I, when we worked together, we saw a very, very prolonged period of soft market, and maybe we start to see that becomes more challenging, and actually pricing does come back as events can surprise the market much more so than they did even 20 years ago. Still
early in the hurricane season, I guess, so
it's absolutely
we'll see even what happens this year.
Absolutely,
sure.
And then would be remiss to say that there are carriers here very thoughtful about products as well, and as we want to protect environments. Insurance has a critical role to play in that, beyond the obvious property catastrophe applications. But it's generating solutions that enable governments and companies, frankly, to develop industry around how we can actually respond to climate change effectively.
All really exciting, and I guess staying in that spirit of excitement and looking forward. What are you personally most excited about over the next 12 months with powers of Aon on your side?
Well, Ben, I've been doing this for over 15 years, and we worked together a while ago, and we're in the business of advising insurers and reinsurers on solving their most complex challenges. Unfortunately, they don't come to us for easy answers.
Yep.
They come to us when it's hard for them to answer. And I think all the things we've talked about are intensifying the complex challenges that insurers and reinsurers are facing. And I think we're in the market, we're in there every day, living and breathing it. And I think that just creates a lot of really exciting opportunity for us to help our clients just solve those challenges and hopefully be successful and outperform through the market cycle.
Amazing. Always so good to be working on the interesting and complicated stuff. I miss it a little bit, I will confess, but no, brilliant to have you here, Paul. Thanks so much for coming on the show, and good luck going back out into the fray and into the hot sun.
Thanks very much, Ben. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thanks for tuning in to the Reinsurance Podcast. If you enjoyed our show, don't forget to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts and leave us a review to let us know how we're doing, preferably 5 stars. For more insights and updates, follow us on LinkedIn and visit our website at supercede.com/podcasts. You'll find the links in the show notes.